Dede Gardner, Liv McNeil, Kate Hallett, Michelle McLeod, Sarah Polley, Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Sheila McCarthy, and Judith Ivey. Thank you. Congratulations. There's a few different threads I want to tackle and discuss in this 20 minutes that we have. I actually want to start because we look at this company, this incredible company that spans I don't know, different generations, and we have newcomers, we have folks that have been working for a career, and so we have these different layers and textures to this incredible cast. And I want to start there, and I'm going to start with who am I going to pick on? I'm going to start with Rooney and Claire, actually. And here's what I was thinking about. Share with us just a little bit of the experience of collaborating. We're going to get into sort of how the project came about, but this notion of this company that, again, has such a range to it. Maybe share with us this notion. We were talking about collaboration earlier in the day, and the dynamic on this set. You're on Zoom at the beginning. It's a pandemic. You're trying to work together, digitally, electronically, and then you come together. Help us understand the dynamic of coming together as a company with so many different levels and experiences and backgrounds.
I was quite intimidated at first, especially that first we had 1 week rehearsal on Zoom, and I remember just like, feeling so out of my depth and intimidated and scared. But then when we all got in person, it very quickly we became quite a troupe.
I think it's really a testament to Sarah, how thoughtfully cast the film is. I know there's a lot of actors on the stage, but it was a very egoless movie to make. And I think the breadth of these characters and how incredible they are, everybody must have wanted to be in this film. And I think that it's so thoughtfully cast that everybody was there to support one another, to learn from each other. And I think very soon in, we realized that we would all get through it together, basically. And yeah, it's the most giving and loving and inclusive set I've ever been on.
Liv, Kate, and Michelle, kind of the same question. Like, just give us a sense of sort of the dynamic of when you're all kind of now thrown together after being on Zoom together.
It was definitely scary at first. It's weird to hear Rooney Mara say, "You were scared." Like, I was scared. But the first rehearsal in person, we were still having masks and we didn't see each other's faces until the cameras were on. So it was definitely very intimidating, very scary, but it quickly became a very comfortable and loving environment.
I thought because of the nature of the film and the subject matter that it would be very dramatic and somber. And once we got the masks off and we're actually acting together, we became quite ridiculous, laughing at fart jokes and being silly. And Jessie Buckley, she's wildly hilarious. I wish she was here now, but we just laughed and laughed and laughed, and I'd have to realize, we're starting and try to hold my laughter in, which is sometimes for me really hard to do. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm so happy that we created that community, that kind of environment to work in. It was, one of the best experiences. Thank you, Sarah.
It was a really, really loving and supporting set, and it really felt like a second family away from home, and I just loved being there every second of the day and just getting to be around all of these incredible women and filmmakers and actors and getting to learn from them was just an incredible experience.
Okay, so bring it home, Sheila and Judith. Give us the old part.
When I first Zoomed with Sarah, she said, "I think you're too young to play Greta." And I went, "Oh, wow. Yeah. You know what? Just take off all the mascara and, you know what? Yeah. And those costumes and the hair and the lack of mascara. You know what? We had a ball doing this, and it just seems ageless to me. That I know we're different generations, but the whole experience seemed completely ageless to me in terms of our joy and how much fun we had on set. And I actually was going to choreograph something for our exit that we never told you about. Rooney and I started a lovely dance number for the exit of the, which we didn't finish. But in the midst of working on something so difficult, it's really important to laugh too. It's the same relief. So.
Well, to bring up the rear, I was intimidated and I was scared, and I think that's part of the process, to be excited about the people you're working with, and it fuels it. And I was an admirer of most of the people here, and the ones I didn't know, I found out very quickly that I would be admiring them, and therefore it was an experience that taught me a lot about myself as well as about who we are as women. And I think that's one of the great messages that you have captured here in this film, is that we are a group and we are a demographic, but we're all very different and very complex, and how wonderful that you all get to work together like this. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Fran McDormand is not here with us tonight, but we raise a glass to her. Sarah and Dede, share with our audience a little bit about how Fran instigated this project. She got the rights to the book. So maybe help us understand sort of the beginning of this.
Sure. Fran brought me the book pretty early in its publication run and said, "Read this," and I did. And I was sort of instantly obsessed, and I made a huge drawing of what I thought the colony could look like and handed it back to her. And she said, "Okay, let's go do this." And the very first person on our minds and on our list to write and direct it was Sarah. And fortuitously and cosmically and spiritually, the same day we reached out to Fran's manager, Sarah has the same manager. She also reached out to the manager and said, "Hey, I saw that Fran and Dede have the rights to this book. What are they doing with it?" So it felt, like it should.
And I'm going to ask Dede why Sarah, and then I'm going to ask Sarah why this book. So maybe start with why was Sarah at the top of that list?
I have many reasons, but I won't do that to you.
No, go ahead.
Good time. Mostly because I was so struck by the line at the end of Miriam's introduction to the book, in which she says this is an act of wild female imagination. And I thought, if we can capture that, gesture of solidarity in the movie, which would take an incredibly imaginative human and filmmaker, then we will have done our job right, and we will have honored the text properly. And I think Sarah's movie Stories We Tell is one of the great, great expressions of imagination ever. Well, I'm done. That's good.
Kind of the same question from your end, Sarah.
Yeah, I think I can explain some of the reasons I was drawn to the book, and probably the most powerful reasons I can't yet explain, and that's still an unpacking process. But I just felt that the book articulated questions that had been swirling around for me that I didn't have words for a long time. And I loved the idea of trying to imagine what it would be as a film. I wanted to do it so badly, and I feel like that happens to me once every 10 years or so. And I also knew that I didn't have it all. It wasn't like one of those moments where you read the book and you just see the film and you see every frame of it. But what I got very interested in was, first of all, the collective that developed between Dede and Fran, and like knowing Dede's work and knowing Fran's work, the idea that I think I might be able to figure it out with these people though. And then, to take that ethos into the cast and into every part of the process, the idea that this actually cannot be cracked by a person alone, but it could be cracked by a group that worked together and with a lot of input and standing on each other's shoulders to get higher. So that really fascinated me. So for me, the vision of the film was actually the process of the film and taking the ethos of the book and mapping it onto the filmmaking process and to see what came of it. That was the excitement for me.
So let me ask you a follow-up, because you said something earlier today, Sarah, that I've been sitting with and thinking about, and that is the notion of approaching this like a fable. And maybe if you could dig into that a little bit for the audience, just sort of how that spoke to you in your creative process, in the writing process, and then in the collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like an epic undertaking that they decide to break down what at the core of their society is wrong, figure out how to name those things, how to break that down, and then how to move on and create something else, and the building blocks of the beginning of what that something else might look like. And there was something so epic about that endeavor. And I felt something so meaningful to all of us, whatever kind of society we live in terms of the conversation, the way they have it, and how inclusive the conversation is of conflict and harmony and completely different points of view that seem like they're not going to be overcome, and this drive that they must come to something together that encompasses all of them and all of their varied experiences. And I just felt it had so many echoes for me of conversations I had been having and things I'd been thinking about in this world that we are talking about, where the roots of the problems are and trying to think about what might be next.
Dede, in what ways does the conversation that the world has been having the last few years, in what ways does that make it easier? Never easy, but in what ways did that help getting this film off the ground? In what ways did it not? And it was going to be a challenge always, but how did you harness the cultural sort of moment to will this forward?
We had incredibly supportive partners at MGM, and I was in a position to be able to, under a certain budget, say, this is the movie I want to make.
Got it.
And they backed us every step of the way. I think they saw it. Like, you never want to make a movie with someone who doesn't get it or see it or understand it. But the movie also sort of revealed itself as it went, You have the script, and then you have the cast, and then you have COVID, and then you have the thing, and the thing, and the thing. And but the movie kept giving. It just kept every incarnation of it. And I think the point at which we started to see, the movie's about, you can see people change their minds in the movie, that just felt electric. And I know they saw that. And I think they thought, that's worthy and essential. And if we can harness that and the fact that that's found expression, there's a place for that today.
Let me go back to this conversation about this full company. We talked about different generations and different backgrounds and levels of experience. Help us understand as an audience the collaboration process. You've used that word a few times today in talking about the movie. So help us understand what that really meant in the process of actually, when you were finally together. How did it evolve, and how did you all think about sort of your role in that collaboration?
I mean, I've said it before, but I came in thinking that, you don't really question what the director tells you to do, and you just do it. And I think Sarah and everyone here was an incredible role model that that's not how it should be, and that it should be a more collaborative process, and you should have a say in what is going on around you and what you are doing. I think there were a lot of times on the set where it could have been incredibly uncomfortable or unsafe, and Sarah and everyone who was in charge made sure that it wasn't, and that it was an incredibly safe space, and that it was okay to voice that you were uncomfortable and to say no to things.
there was so many times when Sarah is so collaborative as a director that we would offer suggestions and she always took them. And could I just do that one small example? When I'm sitting at the edge of the bed and my teeth have come out, I said to Sarah the day after we shot, I should have made my bed. That's what Greta would do. And Sarah just tucked that thought away. And 2 months later, on the very last day of shooting, everyone had gone home and Sarah came up to me and she said, do you want to make your bed? And they put the whole set together and the crew, we reshot the whole scene so that I could make my bed. And that's just an example of the kind of filmmaker that Sarah Polley is.
I want to give the audience a chance to maybe ask 2 questions because we don't have a lot of time. But if I could, let's see, where do we want to go? If we could go right here, you have like a lighter gray or white. Is that a white? Yeah.
So originally the song was California Dreaming. That's what's, sorry, I have asthma, not COVID. I've been tested. Originally it was California Dreaming from the book, and we were quite attached to that for a very long time. And then one of our editors, Christopher Donaldson, one day I came in and he said, I want to show you something. Don't hate me. And he pressed play, and it's a song, you know, that he just had this flash that might work better. And our trainee Sabrina and our first assistant editor Craig both were very, very passionate about it. So I agreed to sort of live with it for a bit. And then it really started to make sense to me. And I can't even explain exactly why for me it works the way it does, but there's something it keys into in terms of the hope and the laughter of the women and of like a way of feeling forward. And I think at the end, like I really loved over the credits, the idea of giving people permission to not walk away with the weight of the film, but with the hope and with the playfulness. Thank you.
I'm looking to the back of the room.
Helder was the one thing I knew that I needed and was non-negotiable in this filmmaking process. I love her work, and I had this vision of what would it be like if Hilda wrote an almost traditional, hopeful score, and it just felt so perfect to me and so perfect to Dede. And Dede moved mountains to even just get me that meeting. Because Hilda was committed to other things. She was underwater. I mean, she was so busy, and I was just like 10 minutes on a Zoom call. And so it was deep into prep, and Dede somehow made it happen because she's Dede. And I just remember just saying to Hilda, I know I can't make this film without you. Like, you are the thing I value most in terms of being able to move this project into the territory it needs to go into. Like, what can we do? And again, Dede just managed to make that happen. It was one of those things where there were very few things that I was really stubborn and crazy about in this process, and that was the main one. And and working with her, that collaboration was one of the highlights of my life. Just seeing where she could take it and elevate it was amazing.
Women Talking opens later this year. You're obligated by being here to tell a friend or a whole family, spread the word. Congratulations and thank you to this entire company and this entire team. Thank you for being here. Have a good night.